Hey, welcome to the Breakfast of Cinema on Fire. Today we have Rich from Director Screenwriting. Cut it. Cut the guitar. So, is there anything you really want to add, Rich?
Oh, hey, sorry, I couldn't hear you over that jamming. That was awesome guitar, man. Hi, no, my name is Richard Pierce. I'm a screenwriter, and I'm excited to chat with you guys.
Oh yeah.
Well,
And I'm in my filthy garage. My wife and daughter are upstairs taking all the good locations, so I'm gonna go videoless. So y'all won't be able to see me, but it's only because I'm in my nasty garage.
Yeah, and he's real, folks. We're not like faking this interview.
Well, no, I'll come on for a second. There I am. See,
Yeah.
I am real, but yes, this is my
Right
nasty
there, yeah.
garage. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, I first saw you on Fabio's chat and everything, and I thought, boy, it's kind of cool that he's actually talking to a screenwriter. I mean, not a famous one, but still it's pretty cool. So, and I thought it'd just be nice to talk to you. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some of best question number one? Some favorite movies?
Oh man, it's weird because it's become one of those kind of lame answers, but I hate to say it, this was my favorite movie before it became a lame answer, but Die Hard's always been one of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah.
It structurally, even at a young age, I kind of knew I wanted to write, and I was always into storytelling and just the way Die Hard unfolds and unravels, and of course it has the badass action, but I actually love the storytelling elements to that. I think it's kind of a perfect movie.
Okay, and I guess that leads into a bonus question. Is it a Christmas movie?
I was just about to ask him that.
Well, I think that contributes to it being kind of a lame answer. Like, to me, no, it's not a Christmas movie, but I mean, but it doesn't matter. I guess it can be to some people. Bruce Willis says it's not. And remember, he had his Comedy Central roast probably about a decade plus ago, and he came out and said, "I don't even think it's a Christmas movie." But I mean, it doesn't necessarily change the enjoyment of the movie, whether you consider Christmas.
And then to kind of going on it, even John McTiernan said that it's a Christmas movie. So I guess it's,
no, there you go. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess another question that I have is screenwriters that influenced you.
Oh gosh, there's
or even writers in general.
Well, I grew up, I loved, I was a big reader when I was a kid. I loved Michael Crichton, read most of his stuff growing up. But of course, I'm growing up during the era of Jurassic Park and Congo and all of his movies, or all his novels being turned into movies. So that kind of contributed to it. But I always loved the kind of science fiction, horror genre, the realistic, quote unquote, science fiction. Because you always felt smart when you were reading Michael Crichton.
Right.
Like you always felt like you were one of the scientists going along with them on the expedition. You were learning along with these people. Sphere, it's not a great movie, but Sphere is my all-time favorite novel, which Michael Crichton wrote. They made it into that Dustin Hoffman, Samuel L. Jackson, and I forget who the female lead was, but not a great movie, but an awesome book, and that one definitely inspired me. As far as screenwriters go, there was a lot of guys in the 90s and early 2000s who were just pumping out. I always liked the blue collar approach to filmmaking, where, Shane Black is obviously one of those guys who's written big blockbusters, but there's tons of screenwriters out there who write tons of lower budgeted movies. And I was always inspired by that, by the guys. There's a guy out there named William C. Martell, Steve Latshaw, who wrote, if you ever saw a Michael Dudikoff movie in the 90s, odds are they wrote it, because they just pumped out a ton of cool action movies that were all low budgets. And I was always inspired by that, like I said, the blue collar kind of approach to filmmaking, where you weren't a millionaire, but you're making lots of product.
Right. No, I mean, Sphere is a great novel. I mean, that's one movie that definitely should be remade, honestly.
I agree with you. Yes, and in a sea of movies being remade that don't need to be, Sphere deserves a great movie.
Yeah. I believe I've heard you say you on Fabio's chat one time you worked with Eric Roberts.
Yeah. The very first screenplay I had produced, which is about 10 years ago now, which is crazy to think. I was in like my mid-20s, and we can kind of, I guess I can kind of dish a little bit because I have some not so nice stories, but but maybe it's just from some of the baggage I have from working on this movie. I wrote a movie called Sector 4 Extraction, which starred Olivier Gruner, who is a big action star in the 90s, late 80s or early 90s. And the way that movie happened was when I was in college, I was working at a Best Buy over the summer. And I was working in the camera department because I was a film student, and I was loading cameras on the shelves. And all of a sudden I hear this very strong French accent speaking to someone behind me. And I turned around and I was like, holy shit, that's Olivier Gruner. And I grew up on this dude's movies. So it was a really crazy thing just to run into him. So of course I said, hey, I'm a big fan. Here's my email if you ever look at for a screenwriter, which is I look back and that's so pathetic of me to do, but it worked out because I don't know, like 6 months later, it was really weird. I woke up one morning and it showed on my phone, I had an email that came through at like 3:30 in the morning, and it was from Olivier Gruner. And I thought it was spam or something, but sure enough, it was him. He gave me his phone number and told me he wanted to do a project and wanted to hire me to write it. And I did. And it became Sector 4 with Olivier Gruner, and Eric Roberts was the co-star.
Well, Eric has that quote here from Jim Carrey all the time. What is it, Eric? So you took the opportunity. So
yeah. So one quote from Jim Carrey that I love is that life opens up opportunities for you, and you can either take them or you can stay there being afraid of taking them.
Yeah,
and
no, it's true.
You took the opportunity. I mean, despite what you think about the movie,
yeah. Yeah. It's true, because if I wouldn't have done that dorky thing of, hey, Mr. Gruner, here's my email address.
Well, I can safely say that I think that we would. I can't say that we would if we saw some actor that we recognized. I can safely say that I think we would probably do the exact same thing. So
yeah, no, and I say go for it, because the worst that'll happen is you just annoy somebody. But then again, something good may come of it, and
but
why not?
I guess that kind of leads into question number 4, but overall, how was Olivier Gruner to work with?
And this is where I'll force myself to be nice. I will always be appreciative to the dude. Like I said, I grew up a fan, like renting every one of his movies repeatedly. And for better or worse, he took a chance on me, just a kid who was, in his mid-20s, who hadn't ever I've written scripts before, like in school, but I had never written anything for a company. And he took a chance, so I'll always give him credit for that, and that was awesome. But did the movie help my career? No, it didn't really, and it turned out really, just objectively, it's not a good movie. Fabio's seen it, and he gave his honest. Rambo Raff, all the kind of you guys in this little YouTube pocket that you guys are in, which I'm a fan of all of you guys, and I watch all you guys. I think most of them have seen it, and they've given their nice reviews and said they didn't really care for it, but we all gave it our best. I think some people had egos. I think maybe he had a little bit of an ego while making, because it was supposed to be in his mind, his comeback movie. Because at that point, Expendables was hot, and all these action stars are coming back to life, and the careers are coming back. And I think he kind of wanted to do the same, but it just didn't happen. So I think it was an overall disappointment for everybody. But I'll always be thankful for him giving me a chance. And Eric Roberts being in a movie I wrote is still one of the biggest thrills ever. That dude said words I wrote, because he's the coolest guy ever.
Well, yeah, and he does 500 movies a year.
Yeah, he does so many movies.
I think you said it, that he just enjoys working.
Yeah, no, and that's, again, I go back to, I love working with people who kind of have that blue collar approach to making film, and Eric Roberts definitely has that. The dude just wants to work, and does he make 500 good movies a year? No, 480 of them are probably shit, but he enjoys doing what he does. He makes money, and he gets to help out young filmmakers by getting his name in a movie, which helps get distribution. So he's an amazing guy.
Yeah. Well, I even, despite there being almost 60 Amityville movies, I saw an Amityville movie where he's literally just a guy dressed in a crappy Halloween costume. You could tell.
I think I know the guy who made that movie, actually, and yes, I think it was Amityville Death House. I think it was called.
That's it. He's just reading a scroll in the movie. It's you wouldn't even know it's Eric Roberts. It's just him in this.
No, Yeah, you would never know, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, Eric, maybe we could get him for things that piss me off.
Funny, I was about to say that. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe get him for things that piss me off, or maybe get him for Dracula versus the monster. But yeah, I believe wasn't Eric Roberts in the Dark Knight,
Yeah.
and who was he in the Dark Knight again?
He was the mafia guy.
He gets his ankles broken. Batman throws him.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, that
Oh no,
was Eric Roberts.
and it doesn't and there's that scene in the car with Two-Face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe he also was in the Human Centipede 3. Say what you want about it, but it's the movie that he was in.
He was in He was the bad guy in Expendables. So yeah, again,
and
like
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how'd you get in with this group of Fabio, Rambo Raff, OCP, Zero Cool, all those guys? You know, did you just see them on you? What was the first review you came across with them? You know, because it's kind of cool that we have a screenwriter among people that actually listen to us. You know.
Yeah, this is a soda. I'm popping. See, this is I'm not cracking open a beer. You can't see. It's a soda. Hopefully, no one thinks I'm boozing on your interview here. Although that probably would be a good little angle. We should do a drunken. There you go. How did I find? Oh, it was through Matt, through Rambo Ref, and this is going back, man, like 2008, 9. One of my favorite movies. Oh, you asked me earlier some of my favorite movies. I don't know if it'd be in my top 5, but in my top 10 is definitely I Come in Peace with Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
Such a fun movie. So weird. You want to talk about screenwriters who inspired me? David Koepp, who adapted a lot of Michael Crichton novels, and he wrote Jurassic Park and a bunch of stuff. He did an uncredited draft of I Come in Peace, and apparently he's the one that really brought in a lot of the cool elements that I dig about that movie. But so I grew up loving that movie, and just one day hopped on YouTube and searched for it, and a review by Rambo Ref came up, and I think that's how I found him back, like, man, a decade and a half ago.
Well, yeah, no, it's I Come in Peace is I found, I mean, if that was on, I think that was on his old channel before he was Rambo Raf for Life.
Probably.
I saw it through him. I was like 16. I remember renting it at Blockbuster nonetheless.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, this is awesome. And Dolph Lundgren, like, remember before the internet, we never knew if Dolph Lundgren did. It was kind of hard to find Dolph Lundgren stuff besides Rocky 4. So.
Oh yeah, no, that was for the longest time. It wasn't even on DVD, so I had my cherished VHS of it that I kept way, well into the DVD lifespan. But now it's got a Blu-ray and all that stuff. So
right.
But yeah, amazing movie, and that is another one set at Christmas. So there you go.
I like that. That's a very unique concept for an alien movie.
Oh yeah, drug dealing aliens. Yeah, of course.
It's amazing. And then it takes place in Texas. So
yeah, everything about that movie's weird. And then his buddy, it's a buddy cop movie, so his buddy's Brian Benben, and it's just like that's a weird casting.
It's really funny to even watch the contrast of Dolph Lundgren and Brian Benben, because like Dolph's 6'5", and then Brian Benben's this short guy.
He's like 4'8". The dude's so small, or he looks it compared to Dolph, and everything about that movie is weird. But it's a fantastic. If people want to see a crazy '80s action movie, I think that's about as crazy and as great as they get. And amazing director, amazing story. So great stuff.
Anyway, there's I guess, kind of, I mean, I think we could guess some of the names, but like, I guess maybe action stars, maybe you would like to write a project for, because, I mean, Sylvester Stallone probably, Arnold, despite him maybe being the 6-day clone right now.
It's not him anymore. I'm convinced it's not really Arnold anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely got one off my bucket list with Gruner, and while it's not a good movie, the fact I remember kind of having one of those outside-in moments when I was being on set. We were shooting at this Middle East little facility. It was a big set. They actually filmed Iron Man on the same set where we filmed part of Sector 4. And just being on set with a bunch of, guys with guns, and Olivia Gruner's there. And I did, again, this is me not being bitter, legit cool moment. So getting to work with him was a thrill. But I loved, Don the Dragon Wilson, Gary Daniels, Jeff Speakman. I tried so hard to get Jeff Speakman in Sector 4. That was my dream scenario. But Gruner, again, maybe there was a little bit of an ego. He didn't want any other martial arts stars in the movie to outshine him. So, But Speakman's another guy I grew up loving.
Jeff Speakman. My only, my only concern with him getting the movies now is it's been 15 years. So how has he kept up with acting? Because you kind of have to keep up with acting.
Yeah.
If I was going to hire Jeff Speakman, I think I'd more hire him now for maybe do choreography.
Well, so again, this is going back over a decade, but what wound up being Eric Roberts' role in Sector 4, which is kind of just the bad guy sitting behind a desk for most of the movie. Before they cast Eric Roberts, Jeff Speakman actually lives. I live in Las Vegas. That's actually where Olivia Gruner lived at the time too. That's how I met him. And Jeff Speakman lives in Vegas. So I actually met Jeff Speakman at Best Buy as well. That's another crazy story. He was in there he had a Kenpo studio here in Vegas. And he wanted to have a bunch of TVs throughout his studio, showing, clips of, I don't know, his movies probably, but also just clips of martial arts playing. So he was in Best Buy and he was buying 10 TVs. And I saw him and I went up and, oh, you're the perfect weapon, shook his hand, blah, blah, blah. And he was the nicest dude ever. So when I knew he lived in Vegas and we're making this movie in and around Vegas for the most part, which is where most of Sector 4 was, some was in LA, like I said. When it came time to figure out who the bad guy was going to be. And at this point, Jeff Speakman had just gotten over his bout with cancer. And, thank God he's still doing great to this day from what I hear. So I'm happy he's healthy. But because, he had just gotten over that, I thought it'd be great for him just to kind of have a small talking role in the movie. But it didn't happen. But that would have been another big bucket list moment for me to have Jeff Speakman in a movie.
That would be cool. Now, it's so just... Now, with question number 7, it does lead. Though that whole community has been very vocal their opinions about the Expendables movies.
Yeah.
Let's say Sylvester Stallone gives you a call. He gives you carte blanche to do whatever you want with the Expendables 5. What would you do?
Oh man, I don't know. See, I actually just recently watched Expendables 4, and man, that sucked so bad.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, and I'm actually a fan of Megan Fox because, keep in mind, I grew up when Transformers was, when I was in high school, so Megan Fox was the it girl. So I actually like Megan Fox, but so I haven't seen it yet. But
yeah, well, listen, at the end of the day, she was not necessarily the only problem. There were far greater problems in that movie than just her. If she was the only issue, I could probably look past it, but it was hardly entirely her fault. But my feeling on Expendables, there's never been a movie I was more excited to see than Expendables. Even down to one of the guys I just mentioned, Gary Daniels, who is fairly unknown, but he did a million direct-to-video movies in the 90s. He was in the first Expendables.
Yeah.
It was Eric Roberts had 2 henchmen. One was Stone Cold and the other was Gary Daniels. And that excited, every single thing about Expendables was just massive for me. And when I remember seeing the movie and walking away from it being man, I think it was close, but it just missed the mark. Expendables 2, I actually think might be my favorite. I actually
like Expendables 2 because it kind of it was definitely a spoof.
Yeah,
but it was a spoof in the best way.
It was a spoof, but it still delivered on what I would want out of that type of movie. I wish they would have handled Chuck Norris a little better in that movie. But I was overall happy. But again, I felt Expendables 2 just missed what I want, and then 3 just derailed completely, and 4 was absolute shit.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to curse? Sorry, I think that's my 3rd time saying.
It's
shit.
all right.
Okay, I didn't know.
I'm not going to sit there and censor the guests if they curse or something. But whatever, because sometimes they slip out. So.
Well, shit, that sounds good to me. So either way, yeah, no, if I were to do Expendables, I would try to deliver what I always wanted, which would be just get everybody in it. I would totally make sure there's parts for the Olivia Gruners, for the Don the Dragon Wilsons, for all the little guys. Because at this point, if Expendables 5 happens, it probably would be direct-to-video. So what better than to get all the direct-to-video guys who haven't been in the Expendables to come in and be the B team to the Expendables. They're like
Right.
even lower than the Expendables, and they're the guys who have to come in and save the day.
Right. You could. I mean, yeah, you could get like like the Don Dragon Wilsons, and then like I mean, I know they asked him to do one of them, but like you gotta give some you gotta get Jackie Chan somewhere in the Expendables,
Jackie Chan, and I know he would never do it, but Seagal and Fabio and I have talked about this. I think like he was a god to me growing up. He was the absolute,
Yeah,
he was my absolute favorite, and I know he would never do it because he has issues with one of the, is it Avi Lerner or whoever, the one of the producers of the Expendables.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, Seagal
He has issues with everybody, and he's
issues,
in Russia now, so he ain't coming over here for a movie.
Yeah, he has issues with, probably having too much Taco Bell or something too. So.
That too. That's how I would pay him if I was in charge of Expendables 5.
Right, there you go.
Here's a chalupa, come to set.
Or maybe Mountain Dew, right?
Or Mountain Dew. Yeah. But yeah, no. So Expendables, I've always before I turned off my camera, I had my Expendables poster hung on the wall that you guys saw first. Like, so yeah, no, it's a series that's always been, a solid A, but they never got to that A+, which I wish they would have, but it just never happened.
Yeah. I guess we kind of answered this a little bit because you said that Sphere is your favorite novel and they should you would think they should remake it, but any maybe other dream scripts
for me?
Yeah. For you.
I mean, adapting stuff is hard. So I mean, I kind of like doing my own stuff, even at the level of the industry I'm at, which is, I wrote Sector 4 10 years ago, and then things didn't happen for about 8 years. Like I said, it didn't necessarily help my career, but now I make my main living supporting me and my family by writing Lifetime channel movies. That's where I make my money.
Yeah,
I get it. Go ahead.
Yeah, there are some very good Lifetime channel original movies out. One of my favorites, I think it was either Lifetime or Hallmark, and it was in my top 20 favorite movies of all time.
Whoa.
It's called Hidden in Silence.
I've never even heard of it.
It was made in the 90s, and it is basically just like a story like Anne Frank, because girl in the Holocaust living in an attic and everything, but it's not about Anne Frank. And no disrespect to Anne Frank and what she went through, but I kind of appreciate the fact that it was telling the different story about a girl who lives a similar story.
Uh-huh.
It's called Hidden in Silence. Good luck trying to find it. My grandma. The only reason I knew about it is my grandma actually recorded it, and it stars Kelly Martin.
Oh wow!
And it's like, I remember watching. I'm like, man, like I think it came on Hallmark or Lifetime. I can't remember, but it was like for one of those movies in the 90s. It was like they didn't really hold back on like
no. And it's one of my favorite things because when I tell people I write Lifetime channel movies, a lot of time like when I was growing up. And it sounds like kind of your era too. Like when your mom or my mom was watching Lifetime, it was mostly like dramas or like a custody battle or a breast cancer story. Now, and this is one of my favorite quotes ever, is Joe Bob Briggs. Someone asked him like, "Hey, where's all the great exploitation movies these days? Like where can we find great horror kind of exploitation stuff?" And he said, "You got to watch Lifetime channel because that's basically what they make is thriller horrors just with female leads." Mm-hmm. And they're always kind of suburbanized, like they take place in a very what would you say, middle class setting. So they appeal to the moms, but like my wife used to watch these movies, and that's what got me kind of into them. Was I said I want to try to write one, and then it worked out.
And they're real, and some of those, at least the ones that I've seen now, they're actually real strong females. So
yeah, actually, yeah, I've written a few where I mean I could go on a whole thing about actual strong female protagonists because I think that term gets a little bit muddled these days. It's what actually strong characters are. But and some of my scripts even, I mean, not to pat myself on the back, but I think, I can look at the female protagonist and be like, okay, it's not pandering. It's not just, what I see a lot of today of just, pandering.
Right.
So no, I really dig the genre. It's just on the surface when you say I write Lifetime movies, people think, well, what the hell does?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then you watch them though, and it's like very interesting because like you'll look at some of the names in the Lifetime movies, and like heck, even Tom McLaughlin directed a few Lifetime movies. He did Jason Lives. So
Yep, he did. Yeah, absolutely.
and you know, some of them, I mean, some of them were really good back then. Like one of, I think it was like keep in mind like Lifetime movies and Hallmark movies and some of those original TV movies kind of all blur together. But like there was one about the John Bonet murder,
Mhm.
and it was Perfect Town, Perfect Murder, where Chris Christopherson was in it.
Whoa.
You can watch it for free on YouTube. But it was great. It even has Ronnie Cox in it as John Ramsey. So
What? That's great. No, one of the biggest near misses for me so far in writing these movies was Johnny Cage. Lyndon Ashby is now directing Lifetime movies, and he almost directed one of mine, from what I heard. And that it would have been the coolest thing just to say Johnny Cage directed a movie I wrote. I know he's done other things. He's done plenty. Yeah, it would have been, and I know he's done other things, but he's always going to be Johnny Cage to me.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we kind of talked about it a little bit, but like, I guess basically the advice would just be go for it. But advice for people maybe who want to be screenwriters or writers or anything.
Finish your screenplays. Like when I took some classes on screenwriting in college, everybody would have their great idea. They'd be in love with it. They'd tell everyone how great their idea is. And then they would start writing, and 10 pages in, they give up. If you can type a full screenplay, even if it is absolute garbage, if you can get from fade in to fade out, 90 pages, right there, you're ahead of most people just by having it done. Even if it's terrible, you at least have it done. And it's so much easier. It was Hemingway, I believe, who said, write drunk, edit sober. So even if your first draft is complete garbage, you can always make it better, even if it's a slow process. But you will never, ever finish it. You'll never get anything done if you don't finish a script. So that's my biggest piece.
But I think they also kind of said, too, you know, that if you're a writer of any sort, your first 3 stories are going to be crap.
Well, I always heard, not to cut you off, I always heard when you're writing and this was true for me, actually, when you're writing your first 2 screenplays, at least one is going to be a remake of your favorite movie, and one is going to be the story of your big breakup.
Right.
And sure as shit, that's exactly what happened with me. Was my first script was Die Hard in a baseball stadium, and then my second one was me going through I had just gone through a really bad breakup, and it was me writing my, Forgetting Sarah Marshall-esque comedy, but told from my point of view. And they were both garbage, but it is true. There's certain traps you fall into with your first few.
I still would be a unique idea, though. Die Hard in a baseball stadium now. You kind of want to. I actually wouldn't mind seeing that, honestly.
No, I one day I would like to dust it off. Yeah, it was kind of like Sudden Death with Van Damme,
cool.
but mixed with The Scout, or was it The Fan with Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes.
So no, that would be definitely interesting to do that. Eric, you can ask your questions.
Alrighty. Thank you so much for answering those questions. So, what's your favorite movie genre?
It's got to be action. I love action movies, and I'm kind of not stuck, but like I said, I mostly do thrillers, which is kind of just one step to the side of action. But I love action movies, and I would still love to write one big-ish action movie at some point throughout my career.
Well, maybe that'll happen, especially what we've talked about.
Rock on.
Definitely. So, thank you so much. Directors you would like to work with?
And again, I went to film school and everything, and I don't have a pretentious answer for this. My answer is Isaac Florentine, who did a lot of 90s direct-to-video stuff, but he did the Undisputed sequels, and just the way the guy shoots. I think he came from Power Rangers, actually, with that very heightened Hong Kong style. Every time you punch someone, a little dust flies, lots of wire work. But he did some Dolph Lundgren movies. He did some Gary Daniels movies. He did an Olivier Gruner movie. So Isaac Florentine is a director who I would love to write something for.
So
very good.
Oh, sorry.
Very good director. And you've
seen some of his stuff?
Yeah, I've seen the Undisputed stuff.
There you go.
I did see the movie he did.
Oh,
I did see
sorry.
this one he did with Dolph Lundgren.
Bridge of Dragons.
Yeah, and him and Scott Adkins just work really well together.
Yes, yeah, I think Scott Adkins is at his best when Isaac Florentine is directing,
And
in my opinion.
I would just love to see even like they'll never do it, but like I would just love to say give that guy a Marvel movie or something because he could actually probably make it good, you know.
He could at least make the action. You know, he would go with real people. He would probably limit CGI. He would knock it out of the park.
So when you say Power Rangers, are you talking about the 2017 movie or any of
the... No, he did the
TV show. Yeah, I think it was it the like a very original series? I wasn't a Power Rangers guy, so I don't know, but
I don't know which ones he did because I mean I don't know, like it's weird, like my parents were like, you can't watch Power Rangers, you know, and I was a goody kid sometimes, so like I never really snuck off and watched.
Yeah.
So because my dad was always, not to say he was my parents were never helicopter parents, but they always seemed to find out if you could never sneak anything from them.
Huh.
But good parents, I guess, in hindsight. So
there you go.
All right. Well, thank you so much. So my next question: what is your favorite time period of movies? Like, say, for an example, there was the silent era, then there was the early talkies, then there's the 80s, 90s, 70s, or etc. So what's your favorite time period?
Gosh. I mean, 80s horror was kind of like the first genre I fell in love with. You know, going to the video store as a kid and not being a good kid like Ty, I would sneak and get those R-rated, you know, check out Ghoulies. I would watch Ghoulies at age of 5, which is so not appropriate to watch, even though it's a terrible movie, but stuff like that. So like the 80s horror was something, I love that aesthetic. Really fell in love with that. And I mean, man, you can't, to me, I keep kind of giving the same answer different ways, but you can't get better. It doesn't get better than the larger than life 90s action movies, man. That was just, yeah. And I will say, when I was growing up, I graduated high school in 2004. So I'm older than all of you, I think, I would assume. But, you know, when I was in high school, seeing a lot of the movies that were coming out at the time, thinking they were absolute garbage, I now look back on that as like, man, you know, there was some good stuff. I think that era, early 2000s, was like the last wave of like genuinely good movies that took risks and it wasn't all franchises, at least in the big budget theatrical world, because now everything's a IP, everything's a franchise, and outside of very few things, well, like case in point, one of my favorite movies in the last few years was Malignant. Did any of you ever see Malignant?
I've heard of it, but I have not seen it.
I didn't end up seeing it. I mean, I liked it. I did like it. So
I love, like, the tone of that to me felt so 80s. I absolutely loved that movie. And actually, I wound up, coincidentally, a buddy of mine from high school who's a voice actor, he was the voice of the monster in that movie. And I didn't even know it till like halfway through the movie. I kind of recognized it. And then I sat through the credits, and sure enough, my buddy was a voice in that movie, which blows my mind. Yeah, it's crazy to think. Because we're both from Vegas. Hollywood's not in Vegas. I don't know how he made it all the way out there. He's doing James Wan movies.
Well, it's interesting, you know, I mean, for not to dwell too much on it, because Eric is trying to get into SAG, but like a lot of people are just moving away from Hollywood for obvious reasons. Well, we're not going to get into it too much, but like I know Marky Mark lives in Vegas now.
Yeah. He was trying to bring a bunch of the industry here, and I don't know how well it's going, but yeah, like for me, I have zero intention of ever moving to LA. I hate LA. I'll go out there occasionally to visit a set, but I don't care for it at all.
I mean, honestly, I just tell them come to Kansas City because we're right in the middle. We're one of the only large cities that's right in the middle between LA and New York, if you really think about it. And we have 2 states, Kansas and Missouri.
Yeah. So you're in Kansas City. Eric, where are you?
I am located in Billings, Montana.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I got a lot of people from Vegas have been moving to Tennessee and Montana the last few years. It's like almost a stereotype that people ditch Vegas for there. And Minotaur, where are you at? I got to know where you are.
I'm in Tennessee.
Oh, there you go. So there you go. You got both the Vegas destinations, but that's cool. See, I feel all lame. I'm a lame West Coaster, and you're all in the heart of the country.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then there's even a movement in Florida too. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting. So
Sorry, I derailed your question, Eric.
Oh, that's all right, man. It is.
Where's
Oh,
your dog?
my dog? I believe he's on my couch. Yep,
Oh, there he is.
right there.
I always see your dog, but I hadn't seen him yet, so good. Glad he's there.
Simba's like, Dad.
yeah, the good luck charm for Sarah Karloff.
Yeah, definitely. Oh man, I'll never forget how awestruck I was to talk to Sarah Karloff, because she's somebody who I've known about since I was in the 4th grade, and here she was talking to me in front of a computer screen. Oh goodness, I was awestruck.
I haven't watched that video, but I saw you guys got her. That is, congrats, guys. That's super cool. You guys are getting some really interesting people. I only watched the first couple seconds. I'll have to cue it up again. But a dude from the Face Off show, the makeup effects guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I saw you just had him on, so that's cool too. You guys are getting people from all over. It's really neat.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, just it's what I like doing about this. Just talking to people, in the industry, and took notes from Johnny Carson more or less. Figure kind of ask talking point questions rather than some of the stuff that the modern talk show hosts are talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and what inspired me to reach out to Sarah Karloff is the fact that Rico Browning, who played the Gillman creature from the Black Lagoon, he passed away early last year, and then that right there was my wake up call. Like, oh my goodness, all these people who I want to talk to, I'm not going to have that chance forever. So if I want to reach out to them, do it now. And then that's what got me to finally reach out to Sarah Karloff. And obviously that worked out, and I'm very, very glad about that. And I even got her to sign my Frankenstein poster.
Wow.
And and that's also why that I reached out to Bela Lugosi Jr. Now, Bela Lugosi Jr., from what I heard, he's not doing that very well health-wise. It's a shame.
Yeah.
We did not get Bela Jr. for the interview, but we did get Lynn, though.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah. And then she wants to come back,
which is awesome. And heck,
and then we're gonna
not just her, but Sarah. But Sarah also even wants to come back too.
And and then Lynn was even talking to us like she wants for us. They have Lugosi wine and Lugosi coffee, and she wants to try it with us. So
what?
I would be honored. I would be absolutely honored.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'll try. Hey, free samples and try it with try Lugosi coffee and Lugosi wine with the Lugosi.
Absolutely. Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So, you mentioned that you're a non-union. That you're a non-union scriptwriter. What's your opinion on the whole union versus non-union?
And I don't want to get into trouble or anything. I mean, the strike happened for a reason, and it shut down a lot of work for a lot of people, and even for me as a non-union person, it really affected me. Like I said, that's how that's how I support my family now, is writing these Lifetime movies. And they're all most are non-union. So no, I really think, there's a big world out there for writers, and a very small pocket of it is WGA writers, who write for studios, because there's not much work unless you're writing the next, whatever, Marvel movie. There's not much out there. You're not going to sell a spec script to the studio. So there is a lot of work to be done in non-union, and you can definitely make a go at it. You can make a career at it. I don't have an agent or a manager. I've done it all myself. I have an entertainment attorney who I pay to look over contracts, which is a smart idea, to always have someone who's educated do that, because I ain't smart enough to look over a contract from beginning to end. And they're big, thick documents. You got to make sure there's nothing crazy in there.
Well, and anytime somebody asks you to sign something, always have your lawyer check it over first.
Yeah. But again, no agent, no manager. It's all just been through networking myself. And again, I'm in Vegas, so it's not like I'm schmoozing at the Hollywood parties. It's just all done through my first script. People seem to respond to, and then another person will give me a chance. And if I don't let them down, they'll keep me in mind for their next thing. And it's just kind of it's grown into a little spider web, and I've been working for the last 3 years consistently. So I think, you know, a lot of people I've heard, like, their biggest goal is to get in the union, for screenwriters at least. And I don't think that should be your goal right out of the gate, because it really limits you on what you can and can't do. You know, of course, it's the union's there to protect you when you reach a certain level, and God bless, and maybe one day I'll be at that level too. But I'm pretty happy where I am now. So if this is where I stay, this is where I'll be totally happy with it.
Okay, awesome. But yeah, thank you so much. So yeah, so you did mention the superhero thing prior, like saying that's pretty much all. Well, yeah, until recently, but yeah, it was the majority of what you saw in Hollywood for the longest time. So in your own opinion, why do you think superhero movies as of recent haven't been doing that very well at the box office?
And see, I was kind of unaware of it until I listened to like some of Fabio's streams. He's mentioned it. He's kind of reveled when these movies bomb a little bit. He's kind of happy. Well, I don't think he's happy the movies are bombing, but it's kind of like, you know, you make poor product for a certain period of time. Eventually people are going to stop paying to see it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, listen, I grew up loving comics. So the fact that we live in a world where there's a new Marvel movie in theaters every other month and I have no interest in them is crazy to me. Because if you've gone back to 8-year-old me and said, you know, there's going to be 27 Spider-Man movies throughout your lifetime and all these, I would have been stoked. But I have zero interest in. I don't know. I think they're, of course, you could say they're kind of all the same, but I think they pander. I hate to say it, and that sounds like such a lame answer, but they totally pander, at least in my opinion now. And you know, I grew up again in the early 2000s. Like the 2004 Punisher movie will always be my favorite superhero movie. The Ben Affleck Daredevil, I actually have a poster for that too on my wall, because I dated a gal who worked at the movie theater during that time, and I said, "You got to get me that poster when you pull it off the wall at the theater." And yeah, I love that stuff. And they were maybe not as big a budget, but I thought they were better at telling a story. The director's cut of Daredevil 2003 is a masterpiece in my opinion. So I don't know why I don't like it, but
I mean, I'm not again, this is just my viewpoint. This does not reflect Eric or even or if he unless Minotaur wants to say something, if he agrees with me, he can. But Eric, you know, just don't influence my viewpoint. Like when you appeal to, you know, a certain demographic that the majority of people don't agree with, you know, people are going to protest. You know,
well, just protest in the sense of like I'm not going to pay to see it, and
yeah. So and that's one of the reasons why the House of Mouse is failing right now.
Yeah,
among many other reasons. So
now I'm really excited that this Beekeeper movie with Jason Statham is doing well, because that's an original story. I hear it's totally, you know, kind of a cheesy premise. It's kind of like it's just a lesser John Wick with Statham, but I from what I read, it's doing well. It's competing with that Mean Girls music, which I actually listen again. Growing up in the early 2000s, I love Mean Girls, the original. I'll defend that movie till the day I die. It is an absolute classic.
Hey, I was just talking to Eric in the private chat that I actually even like Mean Girls too. So
I forgot there was a Mean Girl. You're right, there was.
Statham, he really is the last action hero.
Yep, 1,000, absolutely.
When he's gone,
that's it.
You got nothing left.
Yeah.
Nope.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Mean Girls 2, it didn't have any of the original cast come back, but it went straight to video.
It had
It was like Fox Family. Tim Meadows.
Yeah, it had Tim Meadows in it.
Tim Meadows, the principal from the first movie, he came back.
Who came back for the remake? Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't know. Actually, I was gonna say I'll probably still see it, but no, Mean Girls is the best comedy screenplay I've ever read in my life is Mean Girls. It's so well structured. And the screenplay is so much funnier than the movie. Not just, I mean, there was a lot, the screenplay was a lot dirtier than what the movie turned out to be. So that made it funnier. But also the screenplay is just written so funny. And screenplays often are very boring to read. But if you can make people laugh between the dialogue and screenplays, you know you're doing amazing. And Tina Fey, that screenplay was just, anyone who wants to write screenplays, one of the essentials is reading Mean Girls.
Okay. But yeah, one of the things I was saying to Junebug, I was like, it makes me feel old knowing that we now live in a time like where movies from the 2000s like are now being remade.
Yeah, that's very weird.
It makes me feel old.
Right.
It's very odd to me. Yes.
Yeah. So, thank you so much. Have you ever thought about writing for a video game?
I nah, not really. I hate video game. It sounds so weird, but I never played video game. I would play like MLB every year. I would buy the new version of the whatever baseball game was current at the time. But like I never got into video gaming. It's just something that I would fall asleep playing video games. They're kind of boring to me in a way. But I know they're great storytelling vehicles these days. People are making video games that are better than movies, and they're taking chances and telling unique stories. So I know it's a really great medium. It's just something I've never really thought of.
Well, like I know the writer of American History X wrote the Scarface video game,
See, that's crazy to me, but that's great. I think it's fantastic.
and I mean, I think it could be kind of cool. I mean, you don't really, you just have to basically write a story, and then basically where the other people would sit there and code the game. Like you just write the story. And
Well, because I've read scripts for video games, and it reads very much like a screenplay for like the cutscenes.
Mhm.
But then when you go to play the level, like in a screenplay, a lot of times when you're writing a fight scene, you don't describe every kick and punch of the fight scene. A lot of times you will just say, and then they fight, So
Right.
a lot of times you'll see, or what I'm assuming you'll see in video game screenplays is it reads like a normal screenplay, but then the action beats are going to be, and then he goes from this corner of the warehouse to this corner, and then you play that. And that's where the developers
Right.
come in and do their. So I'm sure it's a cool thing to do. It's probably a lot of fun. I just haven't thought of it.
Okay. But yeah, so thank you again. Because of the success of Barbie and the Transformers movies, especially Barbie, considering that was the highest grossing film of last year,
Mhm.
do you think that we're going to see more movies based off of toys? And if so, would you consider writing the script for any of them?
I mean, yeah, again, that's going to be one of those, I would worry about that problem if it ever came, because I'm sure that would come with a really big paycheck and be way above the level I'm at. But I mean, yes, I mean, I didn't see Barbie. I don't really have any plans on seeing it.
You're not missing much.
Yeah, I know. And I have a young daughter, and everyone's like, "Oh, you should take her to see Barbie," and I'm like, I'm good. I'm sorry. I'm not making a political statement, but no.
Just
I'm
have just have that be mother-daughter time, right?
Yes, exactly. There you go. So no, but I mean, again, you can kind of make a story out of anything. I mean, Jumanji was literally like a picture plate book with like 15 pictures, and they turned it into a great movie. Maybe I'm looking at that movie through the lens of me when I was a kid at the time, but
Right.
from what I remember, Jumanji was a really great movie, and they built this really awesome story out of 15 pictures. So, I mean, can you make a great story out of an action figure? Yeah, you totally can.
Cool.
Transformers, I mean, for better or worse, the first Transformers movie I genuinely liked. I remember it came out like the same weekend as Live Free or Die Hard, so I hated it at the time because it was competing against my favorite franchise. But I grew to like the first Transformers. I don't think I've seen any of the last 4 or 5, but
I do like the second one. And again, like me, I was talking to if I was talking to obviously, 15-year-old and 17-year-old Ty, like Megan Fox, because
no, sure, yeah,
we grew up in the time where she was the it girl.
yeah,
And honestly, probably the last it girl of Hollywood, really, if you really think about it.
yeah. I mean, kind of. That's true.
And and then then the third one, it doesn't, like, you would literally replace her with a Victoria's Secret model because she said she was a 23-year-old girl that said something stupid. Who hasn't?
Yeah. But even like when she did Ninja Turtles, and again, Turtles are huge for me. I thought those. Well, actually, I was going to say I really just like those Michael Bay Ninja Turtles, but now that these new Turtles franchises going the Mutant Mayhem, man, I look back on those Michael Bay movies and think we all owe him an apology because I hated Mutant Mayhem.
Yeah,
hated it.
I did not like it either. And listen, I have I want to stress this because I feel like I have to say this. I don't have a problem with April being black or anything, but like you turned her into literally a stereotype. That's more what I had the problem with. You know,
She's also just an unappealing character. She's just like, she's not nice. She's mean. She doesn't grow. She doesn't have an arc. She's unpleasant. She pukes. She like her whole character arc is that she pukes.
Yeah, you turned I mean, I could think of another word to say what you kind of made April, but I'm going to get in big trouble if I say that one. You kind of turned. I'll just say you turned April into a brat, pretty much. You know, but it's like, and you know, and then the animation style, I honestly did not like in Mutant Mayhem. Like it, and like I didn't even really like the fact that, like, I get it after casting actual teenagers, but some of those kids seemed a little too young to flee the Turtles.
Yeah, that was weird that they said, oh, this is the first Turtles where we have actual teen. I don't think anyone's ever watched a Ninja Turtles movie and said, man, this would be better if they were real teenagers. Like, I don't get why that was such a big marketing point for them. And
yeah,
I love Jackie Chan, but him as Splinter was not funny.
I thought, you know what, that's one of the reasons why I did see it, because I'm like, you know what, I like Jackie Chan, I do like Ice Cube. I'm just like, you know what,
he was okay. I actually enjoyed his a little bit.
Yeah, Jackie Chan, I thought was, I just think that the problem was the way he was directed. I think.
Yeah.
So.
Either way, sorry, I derailed your question, Eric. Sorry.
Oh, it's all right, man. But yeah, thank you again. Out of all the scripts you've written, what is your favorite one?
And this is again such a lame answer that pretentious screenwriters will give. Is my favorite script is the one that hasn't been made. It's my if I had a passion project, it's this one. I still think it's a marketable movie. It's a horror movie, and I think it would be appealing to people outside of myself. But it's one that's never been produced, and I still have hope for it. I still send it out. Every year I do a little rewrite on it to punch it up and update it and tweak it, but it hasn't been made yet. But it's very personal to me. I love where I live. I love Vegas. I love the surrounding areas of Vegas. I love little rinky-dink middle of nowhere towns in Nevada, kind of like Tremors. Outside of Vegas and Reno, most of Nevada is basically Tremors, a town of 15 people in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And I've always loved that atmosphere, and it's a story that's set in a place like that. It's very isolated. It's a little spooky, and I absolutely love that script, but it hasn't been made yet. But, still have hope.
So, Eric, it sounds like you're Dumb of the Dead.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Which is a great title, by the way. I love that title.
Yeah.
You want to tell them about Dumb of the Dead?
I read it.
So
you sent it to me, Ty.
So basically, so what happened was I used to be a part of this charity called Zombies of Montana. So it was like this charity group that obviously was horror themed, but all the profits that they would make would all go to cancer research and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was the president at that time approached me saying I should write a zombie movie, the life for so and so actor who she knew, and I was like, okay.
Wow.
But I was like, but it kind of took me a while to come up with a concept. And then one day I was watching Beavis and Butthead, and I thought, hey, wouldn't it be absolutely hilarious if the whole concept of the movie is Beavis and Butthead like characters but fighting against zombies?
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, and then I was trying to come up with a title, and I thought, hey, wouldn't it be really hilarious if the title is a parody of Dawn of the Dead, but rather Dawn of the Dead, it's Dumb of the Dead. I'm like, that title is just perfect.
And I'll tell you, for the amount of, at least in the little pocket I'm in, you'd be shocked at how many movies or screenplays get sold based on a title and a pitch. And I think you got a great title. And I think Dumb and Dumber meets Beavis and Butthead meets Dawn of the Dead is a great hook. I mean, I wouldn't give up on that. I would keep that and keep sending it around to people.
I'll give them your, Eric. I'll give them your. I'll type in. I'll send him your. I'll connect you guys so he can see Dumb of the Dead, because I have read the script, and Eric has succeeded at actually writing characters that are dumber than Beavis and Butthead.
And that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, and I was telling Eric that I think that you have a concept where it could be a franchise where you put these two in different scenarios. Like it doesn't have to be horror. Like like Ernest, for instance, or like Ernest
Yeah.
goes to jail.
I was just gonna say,
You
do
know?
like Abbott and Costello or Ernest, but just in different.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, put them in different scenarios because I mean,
Yeah,
he literally made characters that are dumber than Beavis and Butthead, which that's quite an accomplishment.
it is.
Yeah.
And like say, for one concept, it could be the zombie concept for Dawn of the Dead, and then one could be where like they go to space. One where they,
Well,
and then
we
say
thought,
one like where they become archaeologists.
we thought the sequel should be this. We should just get the space sequel out of the way, so the next one they go to space. You know.
Yeah, let's not mess around. Go straight to space, and then you should come back to Earth and just follow in Ernest's steps and just do all the
Right.
Ernest tropes as well.
Right.
They got to go to prison. They got to get scared stupid.
But
Save
yeah, but-
Christmas. They got to save Christmas.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Or they should save a holiday that no one gives a shit about. Like
like
you got to.
say St. Patrick's Day.
Sure. Yeah. Something that, like. Yeah,
No, Columbus Day.
yeah, the day no one actually saw. Yeah. There you go. They saved
Oh, yeah.
Columbus Day.
Or like one of those random holidays. It's like you get a message on your phone. Oh, it's National Pencil Day. Like
They. Yeah.
I didn't even know there. Like I remember something. There was one of them that like my sister was showing. Ty, it's National Muffin Day. Like I like muffins, but does muffins really need a day? You know.
It was apparently just National Screenwriting Day like 2 days ago, and I had no idea. And of course, I celebrated in no way whatsoever. But yeah, every day is something stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I wrote Dawn of the Dead, so the script ended up being like a lot deeper, a lot like than just two Beavis and Butthead like characters fighting zombies. There definitely is a lot of heart to it.
Well, that's good.
And yeah, and I won't say why because it's spoilers, but yeah, like it goes really deep, like especially about human morality and all that. But yeah, like it's a very, very profound script that I wrote.
That's always the best when you read it. Like again, I don't think I've met, but Dumb and Dumber is up there for me and probably my top 10. And one of my favorite parts of Dumb and Dumber, besides it being great, is it's actually like a really cute, like a beautiful story about friendship and being, the rock for another person. It's not a romantic story necessarily, but like Harry and Lloyd are great friends, and they do a great. There's betrayal, but then they do the right thing, and I think it's kind of a beautiful story.
Well, yeah. What makes that story
And
work?
there's poop in it. There's lots of poop jokes,
Yeah. Well,
and it's a beautiful story.
I love Rambo Ralph and everything else, but like that's one thing I don't agree with him on is how his taste on fart jokes and poop jokes. I mean, I'm like, listen, I get it, but like, you're telling me that you like Aaron, if one of us farted during an interview, I'm saying this as we're interviewing somebody, but I know Rich pretty well, so because I've interacted with him in chats and everything. But you're telling me that if we farted during an interview, despite who it is, they're not going to laugh at it,
I think it depends on how it's done, because they can be funny if it's done the right way.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
Well,
there's a time and a place, and I think Dumb and Dumber is an example of a beautifully crafted poop joke.
And they set it up too perfectly.
And they said yes, exactly.
Because
set up in a payoff.
But the extended cut is so much better for that scene specifically because, like, wait, did he in the theatrical cut? You're like, wait, did he just leave it there? Like,
no. Like, in the extended cut, it goes much further.
Yeah, which that makes it so much funnier because it's just like, wow, he just leaves it. In the theatrical, he just leaves it there. Like, man, way to give Mary a present, right?
Yep.
I don't know why, but you know that movie Master of Disguise?
Yes.
Yeah.
One day, I grew to accept the movie because it was on so much. Because at first I was like, oh, this is bad, but then I really love Brent Spiner because he's in the movie.
Yes.
And he'll be laughing maniacally, and you just stop.
Sorry to cut you off. Yeah, no.
What were you saying?
No, go ahead, please.
Oh no, yeah, he just laughs, and then you hear a little fart sound, and he stops awkwardly.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
I'll tell you, I saw that movie in theaters with my little brother, who was probably the appropriate age for that movie because I was in high school, so I was too old to be seeing, because it was a kids movie for the most part. And I'll tell you, it's been 23 years, 22 years since that movie came out. And the only thing I remember about that movie is what you just said, is the Brett Spiner cracking up. He would laugh maniacally and then fart.
Yeah.
And the turtle scene. Everyone remembers the turtle scene.
I'm not throwing up with
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, 22 years later, the only thing I remember from that movie is a fart joke. So they can be. Me and Rambo Raff will have to fight one day over this, because I'll defend. I'll be pro fart. He'll be anti fart.
Hey, send him a paid request for that one, right?
There you go. Yeah, and I'll come on with
That would be funny.
We'll have a drag out
The
debate.
fart debate.
Uh-huh.
The debate of all debates.
That's fair. Because really, what else is there to debate about? Come on.
I mean, to be fair, that would be a more interesting debate than we're about to get pretty soon.
Uh-oh.
So, what are your thoughts on childhood icons such as Winnie the Pooh and now Mickey Mouse, and soon Bambi and Peter Pan all being turned into horror films?
I haven't seen any of them. Well, I guess the only one really so far has been the Pooh one. From a marketing standpoint, you can't do any better. I mean, these are filmmakers who are making. I don't want to guess, but I know people who know the people who made the Winnie the Pooh movie, and I know they made that movie. I mean, we're talking like 20 grand, maybe. I mean, it's
15,000.
15,000. It's a micro budget movie, but the fact that it got some theatrical, it got international, it was everywhere. So I mean, God bless. I mean, good for them.
Well, 15,000, and it made like 6 million at the box office.
So what happened was, it originally was that budget, but because of all the buzz.
Oh, did they do reshoots?
Yeah, then they got reshoots, and the budget got upgraded to $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a budget made for 100 grand, and it went on to make $5 or $6 million at.
And that's great, but I guarantee you it's a piece of shit. I haven't seen it, and I'm not critiquing anyone's art. I'm sure they might watch one of my Lifetime movies and think it's a piece of shit. That's fair. But objectively, they're making a poor, a low-end product, but they're being creative with it. I got to give some respect to it. Will I ever watch them? No, but I don't think they should be shunned for doing it. I think it's kind of a cool marketing. And there's already 2 Steamboat Willie movies they're making, or so there's now going to be competing Steamboat Willie horror movie. Like, what a crazy time. But that's great. Good for them.
Yeah, and I mean, I just think that
and sorry, not to cut you off, but you know what I say? Anyone who poo-poos them making a Steamboat Willie horror movie, if you're giving them crap about it, go make one yourself and do a better job.
Yep. Excellent way of putting it.
What I would just say though, too, is like, I mean, hey, I mean, I actually did see the Winnie the Pooh horror movie, and like, you know what, like, I found it like, I guess the best way to put it is I got what I was expecting. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I wasn't expecting I wasn't expecting, the Citizen Kane of horror movies. And even Citizen Kane's not the greatest movie of all time.
No.
But I was not expecting that, and I'm like, you know what? Like, it's kind of like a movie that like, hey, let's have some friends over, let's have a few beers, and let's just have a fun time watching the movie. And
totally, yeah.
I mean, so yeah. And as far as the Mickey Mouse thing, I'm like, if Disney really wants to control Mickey Mouse, like, you have other studios, maybe relaunch Touchstone Pictures and just throw these guys a bone. Just distribute the movie. If you really want to control Mickey Mouse so much, like put it under Touchstone Pictures or something like that, which rebrand it, and say, oh, hey, we appreciate the fact that you're making our icon into a movie, but we're not going to put it under Disney, but we'll put it under one of our other brands, and
which actually could be one of the ways how the filmmakers are getting away with it, because Disney did trademark Mickey Mouse. So from my understanding, what that means is that you can't deceive people into making it think it's from Disney. Well, no sensible person is ever going to think that a Mickey Mouse horror movie is from Disney. So,
well,
here's the only. Oh, go ahead.
There was that one short in the 90s, Life with the Brain or something like that, where it pretty much was a horror movie. So, but that was like one exception. And there was also a short that even Walt did called The Mad Doctor, which that's an interesting short. So Disney has done horror concepts with Mickey Mouse.
But to be fair, that was almost 100 years ago, and most people in the general public do not know about that. And most people in the general public think of Mickey Mouse being like super innocent and all that.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, I grew up in the era where they intentionally tried to confuse kids into watching bad movies. I'm convinced, because when I grew up, I had Toxic Crusaders, and they were on TV. There was a kids' cartoon, but they were based on the Toxic Avenger, which is the least appropriate movie of all time. There was a Rambo cartoon, and that made me want to go watch Rambo when I was 5. They had a RoboCop cartoon, and that was definitely not for. So I grew up in an era where it seemed like they're intentionally trying to trick kids into watching R-rated movies. But even I didn't fall for it. Like, I knew, looking at the video store, like, oh, there's the Toxic Avenger. You flip over on the back and you see nothing but blood and guts. You're like, oh, that's not the Toxic Avenger for me. I like the Toxic Crusaders. That's for the kids. But also, really quick about the public domain thing with the characters, it's been done with stories, not characters necessarily, but how many times has Most Dangerous Game been remade? It just with different iterations. Or how many times has Robinson Crusoe or all these classic stories, Christmas Carol, but no one really talks about that, and no one poo-poos that. But why are they poo-pooing when you're taking a character and doing your own version of it because they're public domain? So I think they're kind of in a way, the same thing, and it's unfair to judge one more than the other.
And I think that I'm just looking at it like this, though. I even told this to both Sarah and Lynn that in some ways I think that the Boris Karloff and Dracula movies becoming public domain is going to be a blessing in some ways, because more and more people can actually find them, because most people watch movies through streaming. Say what you want about it, but it's going to be easier to find them, because you could probably find Dracula and the Monster than on Tubi for free. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that I've noticed about Universal on Peacock, they will put the movies on there, but only during Halloween. Which it's nice to have them during Halloween, but also would be nice, like, for people who want to watch them when it's not that time of year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree.
So yeah. Public domain, it definitely does have its upsides and its downsides. The downside is that the owner no longer has the rights to it, and they can lose money. But the upside is that it could inspire creativity.
Absolutely. And if it gives someone a skeleton of a story, another way I found Matt initially was Hard Target is definitely in my top 5 favorite movies. Yeah. And that's obviously one of his, and that is just Most Dangerous Game updated for the 90s, basically. So, again, if you can take a story that's, the story of Treasure Island and tell your version of it in space, that's great.
Treasure Planet.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was a thing. Yes, there you go. Exactly. But how many, I'm sure there's been a horror version of A Christmas Carol, or I guess Scrooged it's comedy, but it's borderline horror. I watched that again this year. I forgot how freaky that movie is in parts, but
that would be interesting. A horror movie take on A Christmas Carol, like an actual.
There you go. Let's do it.
I don't know what unless the only way I could think to do it is unless you make Scrooge like an actual death row inmate or something. like he actually was a murderer.
There you go. He's got to kill Tiny Tim. That's our happy ending. He doesn't give him the goose at the end. He's got to kill him.
Yeah, definitely.
With the crutches.
There you go.
Considering I want to be the new head of family entertainment, here I am talking about killing kids.
There you go.
Is it okay if I ask a random question to Rich?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm a big fan of Escape from LA and Escape from New York.
Yeah.
But I was interested in like reading one of those unused screenplays. And I forgot which one it was, but there was one weird one where he starts out in Vegas and there's this machine that you can bet body parts on. And of course,
Oh, wow.
Snake bets his ass. So the machine grabs him and he blows it up before it can do it. And it's so weird. Like, there's a part where he gets captured by Lee Van Cleef. And while he's tied to the chair, he literally pisses an arc onto his papers from the chair. It's just so bizarre. And then he gets captured and taken to a parade. And it's just a very weird. I haven't finished it, but I think I got about halfway through. It's a very weird script. I'm not sure.
I'll have to find that. I've never heard of this, but that sounds fantastic.
Yeah. That's. I mean, I would love to read this, even with Snake Plissken. I would love to read I've never been able to find it, but I would love to read the script for Escape from Earth, if they ever even wrote a script for it.
Yeah. But that's a bizarre script.
Yeah.
I will find it. And I'll read it. That sounds great.
So, Eric, you got another question?
So yeah, my final question, anything that you want to plug?
I'm always bad at this and I'm late. I had a movie premiere on Lifetime last night. So if we had done this yesterday, I would have said, tune in tonight to see the premiere of my new movie. But I had a movie last night that the way it works at my level is when you send off your final draft, you don't get to see the movie until it's on TV or till it's released. So I watched it last night with my wife. We ordered some pizza. We sat down and watched it, and it turned out really good. I liked it. It was called The Boarding School Murders. The title tells you exactly what it's about, as all Lifetime movies do. But it was kind of.
I wonder.
Yeah, it was basically Phenomena, that Jennifer Connelly movie, mixed with like a Lifetime movie. So it was a little bit horror. It was really dark and gothic, and they shot it up in Canada, and I think they did a great job. And I think that was a fun one. So watch Boarding School Murders, and I have another one coming to Tubi, which I'm really proud of. It was my first movie written directly for Tubi through a company called Mar Vista. It's going to be a Tubi original. It's a heist movie. It's called Final Heist, where it's kind of it's a unique twist on a heist movie. They're trying to heist an organ from a living person. So they're trying to basically break in and steal a heart from somebody, and it's a very goofy, silly movie, but I think it's fun. It's got some good action, it's got some good actors, and it'll be on Tubi February 9th. So please, anyone who's seeing this, pull up Tubi on February 9th and give it a watch.
Well, Eric, maybe on your channel, February 9th, what day is that? You have the most subscribers out of any of us. You can host a watch party for it.
Oh yeah.
Hey man, do it. I would swing by for sure.
Oh yeah, totally. It would be an honor.
That would be really cool. I'd love that, guys. Yeah, and I'd love to do this again. This has been fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no. So, but we will.
One more question I wanted to ask.
Yeah, I'm not in a rush. If we got more, I'm good.
Blood squids. Why are they disappearing? And do you think they're going to make a comeback? Because I just saw a movie. Was that Silent Night movie that just came out?
Oh yeah.
Horrible CGI blood. So I don't understand that. Like, what is your opinion on that?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, case in point, me seeing Expendables in theaters for the first time. Again, this is the movie I've most been looking forward to. And almost every gunshot has a CGI blood squib. And I'm like, this is the Expendables. You cannot do that in the Expendables. Why are you doing this? But I know from, I don't want to say from experience, but I know from being on a set with Sector 4, squibs are expensive. They take an actual properly trained technician to do. I mean, you could do homemade blood squibs, but if you're shooting a movie for hundreds of thousands of dollars, you really should have a trained person there because there's a little explosive, and you have to wear a little pad to make sure it doesn't, break your skin or anything like that.
Yeah.
So if you're making, low budget stuff in the backyard with your friends, you could probably pull off a cheap blood squib. But if you're doing a somewhat professional production, you got to pay a person to come and do it. That costs money for the person. It costs money for the supplies. But you could also go to a college student who's, taking a class on After Effects and say, just add in some blood squibs and it'll cost you $0.
Right.
So I think, on Sector 4, that was definitely a conversation I had with Mr. Gruner. Like, we're filming this big battle scene and you don't have any blood squibs? He's like, no, I'll just pay someone. Basically, I'll buy him a chicken sandwich and say, go add some blood squibs, and it'll cost me nothing. and I hate it. I think it's terrible. It never looks good, and but it's money. That's the bottom line.
You know, I'm going to say this. You know, for obvious reasons, a lot of times in movies now they use airsoft guns. You know,
Mhm.
and if you use the plastic BBs, you know, it's a quick second. You know, you can't exactly tell anyway. I mean, so you know, probably you know, if you want to create it, you know, like yeah, you could maybe so you can actually see the bullet because you can still see the bullet fly. It's a plastic BB, but you could always add in a CGI later. But you could at least maybe have a contrast with it where you still see the bullet with the flash, but then you could always sit there and then actually have somebody, okay, I need you to shoot here where maybe like have an X or something, and then have the bag of blood, you know, and then here's some, you know, there's always.
I think that's just dicey, just because in today's age, having any sort of projectile, just I think is a bad idea on any movie set at this day and age.
Well, yeah, but and although especially with airsoft, though, I mean, again, they're plastic BBs. You know, it's kind of hard to get hurt with them. I mean, unless you're actually doing something stupid, you know.
Yeah.
So,
but no, yeah, for most of these movies, and I think a lot of people would say maybe it's for safety that we're all just using plastic guns and doing CGI blood hits instead of squibs. That might be their answer, but I think it's the dollar is the real answer.
Yeah, well, the thing
but you should always be safe. And like I said, you should never have any sort of projectile, in my opinion.
Yeah, the thing that ticks me off though is like when they use fake blood for no reason. You know, it's like fake blood like costs like $3.
Yeah.
You know, at the like Eric, you could go on Amazon right now and probably spend like maybe $10 on some good fake blood.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's going to look pretty realistic. Or you could go make your own, which it's cornstarch, food coloring, and water, something like that.
I believe so.
I mean, which costs you how much money? It's like, I think that Eric, some of the directors now are like a friend of yours that instead of using real vampire teeth, he wanted to use paper fangs. So
that was cringe. It was so cringe, and I tried telling him, "No, dude, these paper fangs look awful." But I guess it was one of like those Ed Wood moments, like where he thought that he was making high art, where all the flaws just went right over his head. The paper fangs look so awful.
I mean, what's the? Anytime I hear something like that, I think of the line in Tommy Boy. I could take a good look at a T-bone by sticking my head up a bull's ass, but I'd rather take a butcher's word for it. So
it's true.
I mean, but no, it's been fun having you. We said about an hour. We got about an hour and 20, but no, it's nice having you too. And Eric, whatever day February 9th is, assuming you're not working, you can host a watch party since you have the most subscribers out of all of us. And maybe to help promote yourself, Rich, you could always send a paid request to Fabio. And
I was thinking I had him do it for Sector 4 because I figured who better to give an analysis from a military angle, because Mr. Gruner fancied himself quite the military expert. So I said, who better to do a review than Fabio? So that was a lot of fun. So maybe I'll have to do that.
Yeah, send them a paid request. Even OCP,
he's a good guy too. I've only talked to him a few times, but I've enjoyed watching all you guys, and it's been really fun talking with you face to face, sort of.
And maybe you can actually do some stuff on your channel.
I have a channel, and I've never really done much with it, so maybe I should. That you guys have inspired me. Maybe I'll get on.
Yeah, because we would love to have you because I mean, there are some people here who want to be filmmakers. I mean, I think Fabio, he admits it to him.
Mm-hmm.
He watches, he doesn't comment, but I'll sit there and say, I think he does want to be a filmmaker, obviously, but I think he just needs a little push.
I think Fabio's got an action script in him. I think he could do that. He could pull it off, and then he can use his own lived experiences in some way. So
I think he definitely has I think he like the films that he made. Like, first of all, that I don't know what that guy was smoking when he sit there and said that his film was out of focus. I'm like, okay, first of all,
I forgot about that. I forgot all about that.
he was filming it on a crappy camera, so of course your film's gonna be out of focus. Like I'm pretty sure right now we're out of focus and everything else.
Yeah.
We're filming. I'm literally filming this on a crappy iPhone. And
but the fact that everything in film school is crappy. I'm not poo-pooing his film school, but every film school, it's all garbage. No one makes good stuff.
Nobody can look at Sam Raimi, for example. The projects that he did in film school, and then he did with In the Woods to get investors for Evil Dead. That is out of focus. The sound is horrible.
Did you guys? Sorry, but did you guys ever see Cannibal the Musical? That was like Trey Parker.
I watched Cannibal the Musical almost weekly and listened to the commentary track on the DVD because it's a masterclass in filmmaking. I kind of grew up with Trauma somewhat as an inspiration, just because they pull it off and they make their movies. But Cannibal the Musical, I think, is a great. It's not a good movie. I think that's where I don't know where you were going with it, but to me, it's not a great movie. But the fact that they pulled it off and made something, it is funny and halfway decent.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's decent. It's funny for what it is.
For what it is, yeah.
It's kind of like Eric's movies too. Things that piss me off,
I've only seen bits and pieces, man, and you got to keep going with that because I think there's an energy to them, and I think they're funny. And it reminds me. If you haven't seen Cannibal the Musical, you should, Eric, because it reminds me of that tone.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen it, but knowing it's by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, I kind of have a feeling of what it's like. I have Basketball, and I've seen South Park, of course, and I've seen Team America.
Imagine all that being made for $20. That's what Cannibal
Which is one of the things that pissed me off, essentially.
That's what I'm saying. So you should see that movie, man. I think you'd enjoy it.
What I love about Things That Piss Me Off is how I've been pitching it to people is it's literally Monty Python meets South Park.
Yeah.
But the one I'm especially proud of Rise of the JWs. And still to this day, people still talk to me about that infamous scene. And Junebug knows what scene I'm talking about. But
let's just say we made Amber Turd is a natural character in the movie, and it's not Amber Heard. It's her name. The character's name is Amber Turd.
Yeah. So what happened was I was halfway through filming, and I did a community post asking my fans what they want to see. Someone said they wanted to see Amber Heard as a character, so I went online and I bought a $2 Amber Heard mask. I called my friend Tyler over. I was like, "Hey, I'm filming my new movie, and I'm gonna be Amber Heard in a movie." So we filmed it. My friend Tyler was trying to contain his laughter while filming. And
I'll have to check it out, man.
It was too last minute to go ask someone else to do it, so that's why it was me. And then me and Junebug were doing a private chat, and so I told him about it. And there's a little twist with Amber Turd at the end, but I'm not gonna say what it is.
Yeah, all I'll say is if the DVDs are coming for the Things That Piss Me Off stuff, all I'll say is probably a movie that you and your wife watch when the kids are in bed.
Okay. I hear you.
Because it's definitely. Like I said, it definitely. The movie automatically was R-rated because of that scene. So.
Yeah. It originally was going to be PG-13 because the first one was PG-13, but Junebug convinced me to make it rated R simply because of that. And then when I had a screening of it at my university, everyone was laughing so hard, and everybody said that was their favorite scene. And
that's cool.
Out of all the scenes, that's the scene people talk about the absolute most. Probably because that was the year the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial happened.
Yeah.
So, no. Well, Eric, I'll send him. Ollie will basically give him your email address, and you can send him a link to the movie. And who knows?
Please.
Like I said, he will get. The DVDs are coming, right, Eric?
Yeah, I've been trying to. It's just technical difficulties. My friend Ethan is trying to get the DVDs made. The DVDs are made, but they're having a hard time actually being played on the software. So if all else, we might have to ask Sebastian if he could make the DVDs because we're just having so many issues with it. So yeah, and I am currently in the process of filming the third Things That Piss Me Off movie, and yeah.
I look forward to seeing.
Yeah. And so yeah, I think we're pretty much just done here. But it was great having you, Rich.
I'll come on camera for one last.
Yeah,
I'll come wave.
We'd love to
There's
have
my
you.
Half Past Dead poster. We'll end on Steven
Oh,
Seagal.
wow.
That's a great note to end on. Steven
All right,
Seagal.
and Minotaur. Take the
And
shot.
Minotaur.